We are here with Bebe and Karen, who are master naturalists, and they're with WonderFun Learning. And kayaking is such a great and fun activity to do out here in the Lowcountry waters, but there's a lot of things that we need to know about, and the ladies are going to share some important safety tips today, what to do and what not to do. So thank you, ladies, for sharing all this with us.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for being here with us.
Yes, of course, it's beautiful out, and now kayaking, as I said, is a great thing to do for families, for groups, on your own, and a lot of people do that around our area on their own, but there's a lot of things to keep in mind. Right. So let's talk about some to-dos and some not-to-dos, and let's start with what to wear and what to bring and what not to bring.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to start with what to bring. I have water. Please make sure that you bring water when you come kayaking. If you're outside for an hour, it's very humid and you'll get dehydrated. You want to wear a hat and wear sunscreen. And you also want to bring something to put your phone in. I happen to have a plastic case, but a Ziploc will do just to protect it, because you want to make sure you have it for safety reasons. Right. And pictures, that's always a good thing.
And it's fully charged.
And then fully charged, yes. Mm-hmm. And then I happen to have a waterproof bag. You don't have to have this, but it's nice just keep all your things in there. So those are some of the things that you do need to bring when you go kayaking.
Okay, Karen, what should you wear and not wear?
Okay, first, loose fitting clothing. Less is not necessarily better. For instance, the kind of clothing that we're wearing, it has a wicking element to it. So instead of, so when you get sweaty, if you have short sleeves or sleeveless clothing, you're just going to stay sweaty, as opposed to some of the lighter materials. You don't want to wear dark colors, because dark colors are absorbing the sun, just making you that much hotter. Like Bebe said, having a hat on is real important. Even if you're not a hat wearer, once you've been out on the boat for 2 hours, you're going to be feeling the heat. Sunscreen is very important. Insect repellent is usually not an issue. We usually don't have anything. Rare time that you'll have the black flies or something, but it's not really an issue. Shoes that are holding on with straps, as opposed to just flip-flops. You are going to get wet. You have to accept that anything that you're going to take with you is going to get wet.
Sure.
With salt water.
Yes, exactly. Now, of course, life jackets is important to wear, but we're going to get to that in a minute. So let's talk about other things to be aware of, the weather, things like that.
Well, like today is a beautiful day, but it's very warm. It's, I think, 98 degrees. And so you need to be careful about that when you're going out. And also the wind. Just keep an eye on the wind, because depending on the wind speed, it could cause waves, and you just want to be careful. So to me, I think and the tides.
Yes, the tide.
Knowing when the tides, low tides or high tides, we are in a saltwater tidal creek. So we have about a foot of water coming in every hour or going out. So it's hard to paddle against. So you need to know your tides and where you are and the path that you're planning on taking.
There's apps that you could get that will tell you where the tide is at for wherever you are at that time. And what's important to know is these creeks get really low in water, and you have the biggest danger that we have out here are our oyster beds. Yeah. And they will be exposed. You may not see them during a high tide, but if you're staying out long enough that you're getting into lower tides, an area you might have paddled already will be exposed. So you have to stay away from the oysters.
And most people may not know the sharpness of those, or very dangerous.
Yes, they can cut you. And so I actually always carry a little first aid kit in my bag. Good idea. So if someone, because if you get too close to a piling, you don't want to get cut on a barnacle. So I just always have that with me just in case. But the pluff mud is something else that people around here need to know about. It's like quicksand. You don't ever want to get out of your boat, and so because you will sink. And so if it's low tides, you have to be very careful where you go, because you might get stuck, and you're stuck until the tides come back in.
Yes, which are many hours, by the way.
Yes. And they're not necessarily on the edge of either side of the creek. When you see the low tide, you look down a path where the water has been left. Sometimes the mound of the oysters are smack in the middle, where you would assume would be the deepest section. So if you don't know the waterway, it's best just to stay in the main part of the creek and don't go into the grasses during middle to low tide. That water goes fast.
Yeah. So when you're out on the water, what are the most important things to be checking around for?
Well, you have to be aware of the other boats. In South Carolina, the kayak has no right of way. So the kayaker has to be looking for the other boats and stay away from being crossing in front of them. Just stay to the side.
Yes, and if you happen to come go by a boat or the boat goes by you and creates a wake, make sure that you put your nose into the wake so you won't tip over. So that's important.
So it's a great place to kayak, but a lot of things to keep in mind for your safety. So ladies, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your love of the water.
Oh, thank you.
And we want to thank Kayak Hilton Head also.
I want to thank all of my guests, and I want to thank you all for watching this edition of the Daily News. I'm Robyn Zimmerman. And remember, if you've got a news tip or a story idea, cool weather photo, just email it to news@WHHI-TV. And if you missed part of this newscast, well, you can catch it all again in 90 minutes. Bye, everyone.